Hello, friends. This is Max Aguilar, your hypnotherapist. Today, I want to speak with you about a controversial subject. It's called past life regression, and is based on the belief in reincarnation. There are some that believe that past life regression is not real, that when you do hypnosis on a person and go into a past life, the person's subconscious mind is actually creating a scenario of a past life. I'm here to tell you about my belief or my experiences using past life regression and what I've seen, and let you make up your own mind about what you think about reincarnation and whether you believe it's real. Let's start by talking about the first time I ever experienced this past life regression. I was doing hypnosis on some patients with a neurologist that I used to work with. There was one particular client that I worked with who had a lot of pain, and I had worked diligently with this client for a long period of time, and he had become very comfortable with me and knew the drill, so to speak. And one day I was doing some regression therapy where I was going back in time to see if I could deal with some of the traumas earlier in his lifetime. And at some point, he just started yelling out and urgently with fear about something that needed to be done quickly. But the distinct thing about this experience was that he was speaking in fluent German. It was flowing out of his mouth like as if he'd spoken it every day of his life. And he was yelling, and I recognized it was German because I had taken German in the past, a German class in the past, and I recognized the language. So I quickly told him to step out of that situation because I realized it was traumatizing for him. And I had him walk me through what was going on during this hypnosis. And he told me there's a fire in my kitchen, and I'm telling everybody to run. And I said, then I pulled him completely out of the hypnosis, and we talked a little bit because I wanted to know what this was about. Well, he couldn't tell me any more than what he told me, and he said he didn't remember that ever happening in his life. He's never had a fire in his life, but he remembered vividly this scene. He saw it vividly. And I asked him about why did he speak in German, and he said, I didn't speak in German. Boom, that blew me away. He didn't even notice he was speaking in German. And I asked him if he had taken German classes or he had grown up German or had any German background, and he had no exposure to German whatsoever. At this point, it really got me thinking, wow, did this guy actually go into a past life regression? After that situation, I started experimenting with past life regression with some of my clients. Anytime a client had an issue that could not address with regular techniques, I offered to do past life. And I had some great success. And I also got a lot of experience hearing people going into their other lifetimes, which made me a believer that this was something real. Whatever it was, whether it was reincarnation as we tend to believe, a linear lifetime for our soul, or whether it was something else. Something was going on that was very different and was embedded deeply in the mind of these clients. I had most of these situations happened during a traumatic time, like maybe they had a car wreck right before they died. Sometimes it was right before death. Sometimes it was during an accident or some traumatic emotional event that happened, and they would remember these distinct, I call them nodes in their past, that kind of influenced their present. So in all these cases, every single one of the cases, the reliving of that event had a really good positive effect on that person. And a good hypnotherapist should be able to take those events and bring them into the present for that person and let them figure out what the lesson was in that and why they're reacting the way they are, and give them a stable ground to deal with it. So I've done many of these, and one day I decided to do one on myself. So I created my own recording on past life regressions. Let me tell you about those experiences because they were really interesting. My first experience with past life regression, I woke up and I was sobbing, crying, just relentlessly crying. I was on a wagon made of wood and it was bumpy. And I had my face in my hands, and I was wearing this sort of like a hoodie, like a bonnet. I realized that I was female simply by the clothes that I was wearing. It was all black. And also, I realized that I was in some kind of religion. And I was being taken in this wooden cart, and it was being pulled by horses, and it was very bumpy, and there were other people in the cart with me. And I knew that I was going to die, that I was going to be executed. I remember being taken up to a guillotine. I remember the feeling before they put my head in the hole in the guillotine. I had a feeling of nausea, and I was repulsed by the fact that I had to put my head there because there was blood all over it, because apparently they were killing people before me, and I was just going after a whole row of people. I remember leaning my head in and not looking down at the basket or whatever it was down there where the heads would fall, because I was so repulsed. But at the same time, I was so emotionally distraught and distressed that I didn't have any clear view of anything. It was just a lot of emotion, a lot of tears, and a lot of fear. Anyway, I pulled myself out of that hypnosis, and I quickly realized that there were a lot of lessons in that experience for me. And one of those lessons were that since I was young, I always had an aversion to religiousness, any kind of religious organization. I also, though I became a Christian, which was that's another story, but I became a Christian outside of religion. And even after I became a Christian or believed in Christ, I had a Christ experience, I didn't want to go into the actual religion. Even though I tried, there was a part of me that just would not let me get involved. And I realized that it must have been this experience that kept me away from the traditional religion, because I had been persecuted in the past for it, and there was a lot of fear in me about it. I never really got into formal religion, and I still haven't. I always sought alternative explanations for everything. And I realized that this is probably the reason why I'm not interested in joining the flock, so to speak, on the religious sense. Even though I have started going to church with my family, this was probably the main reason why I stayed away. And now that fear is sort of dissipated, and I feel a lot more comfortable with religious organizations, and I realize the value that they bring, especially to my children. There's a lot of value in that for me. So anyway, that was that experience. The next experience was also very interesting. I did this about a week later because I had to really integrate all that I had experienced in the last session. And this next experience, I was a woman as well. And the first thing I remember when I was in that experience was the smell of a man's cologne. And I remember a military uniform of an officer. And I remember something about a car, and we were driving in this car, and apparently we were in a very loving, passionate relationship. And this guy, I dropped this man off with the army, and he went off to war. And I realized also that the reason why these memories were coming to me were because I was really sad, and I was lying in a hospital bed, and I was just thinking about these things, and I was distressed, and I was angry. I felt like I had lost out on my life because I had lost this man who, I'm not sure if he was my husband. I believe he was my husband, but I had lost him in the war, that he died. And so I lost my opportunity to have a full life with a wonderful and beautiful relationship. And at the same time, I was in a hospital bed and I was dying, and I knew I was dying, and I was bitter and I was angry. And that I didn't get that chance. And I was holding on to that memory of this man and the smell of this man and uniform. I just remember that vividly. And I also remember seeing myself in that bed. I was a woman with black hair, and I saw myself in a depression. I'm not sure if that was me after I died or whatever. It was a very interesting memory, but I was pulled out of it, and I later tried to assess what was going on, and I realized that a lot of my life, in my younger days, I had a hard time with relationships. I had a hard time with commitment. I was scared to death with any woman that I met that was attractive to me, that I liked, that I truly, really, really liked, and I would date and have relationships with women that I really was not as involved or didn't have any serious passion for or interest in because they were safe. It wasn't until I was in my late 30s that I met my wife and I actually fell in love and got married. But even then, that commitment was strained for me. I always felt strained about it. Like, I was not a full 100% participant. And this memory really removed that hesitation for me, and I immersed myself in the relationship. This was very powerful for me. And I realized that it might be hard to believe for a lot of people, but it was real. It was very real for me, and it was very powerful. So those are my experiences with reincarnation and with past life regression. Now, as whether reincarnation actually exists, I want to leave that up to you. And maybe you might want to try some past life regression to see how it works for you. Personally, if you want to do past life regression, find yourself a hypnotherapist. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm located just outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. If you're in that area and you want to do past life regression, give me a call. www.maxhypno.com. That's my website, www.maxhypno.com. I'll put the link below. Also, if you like this video and if it was informative and you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe, click like, and so that I can get more views. I appreciate your help and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.